Not so long ago, I did a two-part review on the characters that appeared in the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm animated series. Now, in part 3, I talk about the animated TV series that was aired on Saturday mornings, part of the USA's Action Extreme team in 1996. So without any further ado, let us end the last part of this review, shall we, folks? First, we'll start with Combat Begins Again. In this episode, there's a cyber invasion led by Sector and Cyrax attacking the city. That is when Sub-Zero arrives in the scene after Sector and Cyrax escape. We get to see a brief flashback scene with Liu Kang battling the original Sub-Zero, aka Bi-Han and Noob Saibot. In the first movie, Sub-Zero got impaled and froze himself, but in the animated series, let's just have Liu Kang throw a bucket of water at him, causing the elder Sub-Zero to freeze himself. Well, yeah, because they had to tone down the violence so that it would be suitable for young viewers back then. Anyway, Sub-Zero warns the team that Scorpion is coming to invade Earthrealm. Then, as soon as they return to the base, a couple of Tarkatas start attacking. By the way, ladies and gentle YouTubers, this Tarkata leader is named Carbarak, which is likely intended as a phonetic anagram of Baraka's name, but with extra letters, R and C. Back then, when I saw this show, I didn't care who he was called. I just called him Baraka instead. And this episode ends on a cliffhanger when Sub-Zero mentions Scorpion. That's right. Next, you guessed it, Sting of the Scorpion. It picks up where they left off from episode 1, and we get to see everyone's favorite spear-throwing, fire-spitting ninja hell specter, Scorpion himself, who invades Earthrealm with an army of undead warriors. And no, he does not do the toasty thing in the show. That would have been badass. But sadly, this episode was the only appearance for him. I also noticed a song called It Has Begun during the scene with Liu Kang and Sub-Zero battling Scorpion. Acid Tongue. This is where we get to see Reptile and the Saurians, except he was never called Reptile. Instead, he's called Komadai. I mean, back when I was 12 years old watching the show, I called him Reptile instead. However, Komadai was his replacement, cause this show takes place within continuity of the first movie. This episode features the appearance of the Shokan and Shiva, also for the first time Raiden fights, and Jax not using his bionic arms. There's an episode that features the only appearance of Rain, who is portrayed as Katana's ex-fiancé, also for the first time with no mask, plus the appearance of Motaro and the Centaurs.
But you shall not survive, Motaro!
Also a flashback scene with Liu Kang battling Shang Tsung. In the movie, he got knocked into the pit of spikes, but in the show, he just falls flat on the ground and turns into a skeleton. Old friends never die. This is one of the best episodes from what many Mortal Kombat fans considered. Sub-Zero meets his old friend Smoke, who is animated. It also explains a backstory of how he and Sub-Zero became friends, plus Sector and Cyrax as humans before they became cyborg ninjas. But hold on a sec, wasn't Cyrax Jamaican and Sector Asian? Yes, in the games only, but in the animated series, I guess they made Cyrax Asian and Sector Jamaican. Plus, what's up with Cyber Ninja Smoke's color scheme being all gray? Shouldn't it be like violet blue in Mortal Kombat 3? I also found something confusing about this episode. When Sub-Zero fired his attack at Sector and Cyrax, they got hit, right? But all of a sudden, they were standing next to the Lin Kuei Master. Maybe they dodged the attacker, who knows. What's also sad is that this episode was Sector and Cyrax's last appearance and the only appearance of Smoke. Familiar Red. There has been dimensional portals around the world but no bad guys coming out. That is when Nightwolf found a symbol which belongs to a gang called the Black Dragon Clan led by, you guessed it folks, Kano. They head to Egypt to stop him and his army of mummies who are absolute pussies. Kano also explains how the portals keep appearing across Earthrealm by using some sort of device that creates the portals. Fall from Grace. All we see in this episode is Shiva and her Shokan army. The Secret of Quan Chi. Yes folks, Quan Chi makes his appearance, but his actual debut was the animated series before he appeared in the games like Mythology Sub-Zero for example. What I find something cool about this episode is that his pet snake wraps around his waist and turns into a sash. Imagine having a pet snake turn into a sash or a magic staff. Resurrection. Shao Kahn resurrects Shang Tsung, giving him another chance due to his failure by giving him an orb that controls the 4 elements. Of course, you know the 4 elements, don't you folks? Earth, fire, wind, and water. Also, the orb weakens Raiden and stripping away his godly powers.
But wait, wasn't there an episode of the American Street Fighter animated series that featured the orb?
Also, in the second part of my review, I did talk about the Shadow Priest sounding like Splinter and General Trag from Ninja Turtles, voiced by Pete Renaday. As a kid, I said, did that Shadow Priest sounded like Master Splinter?
Yes, Emperor. It is an ancient formula known only to the Shadow Priests.
He did sounded like him, but I could be wrong, though. Amends. Sonya and Sub-Zero arrive at an abandoned theater being attacked by the Black Dragons. That is when Cabal rescues Sonya, and when he takes off his mask... yeah. Plus, this episode was the last appearance of Kano and the only appearance of Cabal. Also, the way he talks, he sounds like Panther on Shredder, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. Oh, and like in the games, he does the high-speed rush attack thing. Abandoned. Jax decided to leave the team and heads to his grandfather's house, meeting a girl named Ruby, who happens to be one of Shao Kahn's agents, and captured him. I've already talked about Ermac in part 2, where in the show he's just a normal human, but the only inhuman feature he has are just solid white eyes. And finally we come to the last episode, Overthrown. The defenders of Earthrealm prepare the final battle against Shao Kahn and his evil forces. But what's going on in this episode? Shiva teaming up with Kitana? I thought she was a villain. But it turns out it was Shang Tsung impersonating her and is after the throne so that he could become the Emperor. But there is one thing that he forgot, is that Shiva and his Shokan army also have enemies in Outworld.
Folks wouldn't be that thrilled having you as their new ruler.
Shang Tsung, you are a traitor. Shiva and the Shokan are my mortal enemies. You will all pay for betraying Shao Kahn!
However, I do have to say the animation looks more improved than the previous episodes, and it makes me wonder, why can't the animation in some previous episodes have animation like this? It's like Season 3 of Super Mario Bros. Super Show, aka the new Super Mario World, where the characters' animation looked like shit in the first few episodes, but in the later ones their animation looked much more improved. Well, this concludes my 3-part review on Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. And to close, this is a good show, but sadly, like in Humanoids, it was totally forgotten. It lasted for 13 episodes, just a 1-season show, end of story. I'll never forget this shortly lived series. I hope you enjoyed this 3-part episode. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, see you all next time.